Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my first impressions look on Zion Williamson's brand new signature shoe with Jordan brand. So this is the Zion 3 and it retails for a whopping 140 bucks. I guess 140 bucks isn't super expensive, but his last shoe was 120 bucks. So they upped the price by 20 bucks, which is a pretty big price increase. I mean, usually they bump it up like 10 bucks. And also the Zion 2 is on sale for like 75 bucks, and the Zion 2 is actually a very nice performer. His shoe has his shoe line has a very different design for every single one of his shoes. It like has a very different feel and very different design on each of his shoes, like the Zion 1, the Zion 2, and now the Zion 3. So if you guys do want to cop, try to leave the affiliate link in the description box. But let's get started right off with the Tracciones. And in this colorway, we have a fully translucent rubber, right? As you guys can see with this like very light teal color, right? But in the forefoot, we have this solid blue rubber, right? And we have herringbone there. And also we have Zion's logo in the middle of the outsole as well, right? So how does the traction feel? The traction feels really good. The bite seems very good on my wood floors, and there is a pretty nice loud high-pitched squeak, which I do like. And also it just feels super duper sticky, right? It sounds sticky. I don't know if that makes sense, but it sounds like it's sticking to the floor, and whatever rubber compound they're using has that like tackiness to it, right? So yeah, I do like how the traction feels. The performance seems like it's gonna be very good, but it seems like it's picking up a lot of dust and dog hair. I guess I gotta clean up my wooden floors because it's picking up. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's a lot of dust on here right now. And also, like, I was just trying it and it seemed to be picking up that dust, and it wasn't sticking as good as when I first got it, right? So hopefully it has good dust performance, but right now it seems like it's picking up a good amount of dust because of that tackiness that the rubber has, right? And also, as far as the durability goes, I feel like the durability will be pretty good. I mean, we do have herringbone, and then the rubber seems pretty hard. It's not super hard rubber, but I feel like it'll hold its own on an outdoor court. So outdoor use, you should be fine, right? So the traction so far is feeling really good. The Zion 1 was pretty nice, right? It wasn't top tier, but it was good, right? The Zion 2, however, was top tier. It was really good for traction, and hopefully the Zion 3 is the same. And now moving on to the heel to toe transition. So because we do have a drop-in midsole, it is a little clunky, right? So here in the heel, we have all of this being rubber, and it's a very hard rubber, right? I wish they would make this a little bit softer, you know, because for example, like in the AG4s, right? The AG4, it's pretty much all covered in rubber here in the heel, right? But then it's a soft rubber. You can actually press it, it does give a little bit, right? But with this, it's a very stiff and hard rubber, so it does feel pretty clunky here in the heel. However, there is a pretty nice curved and rounded shape, so it's not terrible, but it does feel kind of clunky here in the heel, just like in like the Kobe 11s, the Kobe 9s, right? And then here in the forefoot, we have a very nice curved shape, and it's super duper flexible. Look at that, super duper flexible. Can pretty much flex the entire forefoot with just one finger. So yeah, it feels pretty smooth as far as like the overall shape goes. However, it does feel a little clunky here in the heel. And now moving on to the cushioning setup, which is one of my favorite parts about this shoe, right? So like I mentioned before, we have a drop-in midsole, and we actually have Formula 23 foam from Jordan brand, right? But every single time Jordan brand has used Formula 23, it's either been in like a carrier or they made it super stiff, and it wasn't very nice, right? But this is the first iteration of Formula 23 where it's unadulterated, it's USDA organic, non-GMO, it's just the real thing, and it feels super duper nice. And I love drop-in midsoles, and I wish like more shoes had drop-in midsoles. I feel like this year though, there's been a lot of drop-in midsoles, or shoes with drop-in midsoles that have been releasing, right? So we have the 808 line, of course, we have the Series Player Only, we have the Zion 3s. Am I missing anything? Am I missing a shoe with a drop-in? I don't think so, but anyways, the pros to a drop-in midsole is that your foot is right on top of the foam, right? So there is no strub board or anything like that. There's no glue to make the actual foam stiff. That's right underneath your foot. So your foot is right on top of that foam. It's very nice for step and comfort. And Formula 23 is really soft, right? So here in the forefoot, it gets really thin, right? So it's not that nice. However, we have a bottom loaded forefoot zoom unit, and that feels super nice and bouncy, which I do like, right? So I love how they incorporated that, right? So for example, in the 808 3, you have very good court feel in the forefoot, and it's super super duper thin. However, it's just not the best for impact protection because it's so thin, right? And you can't really feel the foam that much because it's so thin. But because they added this zoom unit here in the Zion 3, here in the forefoot, it feels really nice, right? And I feel like impact protection will still be good here in the forefoot. So yeah, the step-in comfort is actually really great, especially with this Formula 23 foam. And also with this texture, right? This texture helps to grab your sock and keep your foot and sock locked down into this kind of like foam because of this texture, right? This texture is super sticky, and comparing to like regular insoles, you know, like regular insoles and regular shoes, it's just like it feels kind of like a fleece or kind of like a felt material. So it doesn't slip around, but this type of texture, it feels way better for lockdown. And also they can add a sidewall to the actual drop-in as well, so you have better support for lateral containment. Also, we do have a midfoot shank plate, right? This is just plastic, so you have better torsion support. So yeah, the cushioning setup feels really nice so far. So the step-in comfort feels great with the Formula 23. You have good court feel. We have good bounce here in the forefoot with this bottom-loaded zoom unit. And impact protection feels like it's gonna be good, right? So the cushioning setup feels really, really nice. And of course, the Zions have had really good cushioning setups because Zion Williamson is super athletic. He's very bouncy, so he needs good impact protection, of course. But with the Zion 3, they made it super low to the ground. This is definitely the lowest to the ground feeling out of his entire shoe line. So that feels great, and I love how the cushioning setup feels so far. And now moving on to the material, so we basically have like this textile material, right? And it feels super thin, but also very, very supportive. There's not a whole lot of, there's actually zero stretch to it, right? So it feels very supportive while being thin, and also conforms to my foot very well. And then in like the midfoot area, we have this, so they're saying it's kind of like a design of where a Zion kind of like jumped in mud, right? And this was kind of like a splatter print. So I guess that's what the design was inspired by. But it's kind of like an overlay of like this plastic material. And honestly, I like how it looks, and also I love the gradient, right? And obviously it does stiffen up the material, give better durability and support, but it still stays really, really thin here in the midfoot. The tongue has like an average amount of padding, right? It feels pretty nice on top of my foot. It's also a half booty construction tongue. And also another thing that I really like about the tongue is that it's embossed. Like the spray pattern of the mud is embossed into the top of the tongue as well, which is a nice design touch. Also, we have a Jumpman logo here. And then here in the ankle area, we have a very nice set of Achilles pads, or I guess more like ankle pads, right? It's more on the sides of the shoe, but that definitely does help with heel lockdown, and also it feels very nice on the ankle bones, right? So that does feel very nice here in the back of the shoe. So the overall material feels nice, especially for only 140 bucks. I feel like I really like this. Like there's like a little bit of a finish to it, like a shiny sheen type of finish, especially comparing to like jacquard, but it still feels really nice as far as the textile goes. And then here in the heel, it says Zion. Right? His logo is actually pretty dope. So the overall upper feels great, the quality feels great, and it feels nice on foot. And now moving on to the fit. So the fit, I went up half a size, right? All Nike and Jordan shoes have been fitting a little short for me, so I've been going up half a size for all of my shoes that come from Nike. And this shoe is the narrowest shoe that I've tried pretty much in like the past couple of years. It's squeezing the hell out of my pinky foot, especially here in the forefoot. So that does not feel good. It's a very, very narrow fit, and I went up half a size, right? Lengthwise, it's also very good. There is a tiny bit of length, but it's not terrible. So I feel like most people will be okay going up half a size. If you go true to size, this is way too tight, right? And also here in the toe box is a super duper snug fit. So I would suggest going up half a size for most people. But like I said, it's a very narrow fit, and it's even a little uncomfortable for me right now. So if you don't want that, then maybe go up a full size, right? But if you have a wide foot, probably stay away from the shoe. I feel like if you go up like a size and a half or something like that, it'll be really, really long, trying to compensate for the super narrow fit. So probably stay away from this if you have a very wide foot. But if you have like a narrow foot or like a normal size foot, maybe go up a half size to maybe a full size, right? But other than that, it does fit me well, hopefully. I guess it does stretch out a little bit, and the width gets a little bit wider, but I have my doubts on that. So yeah, just be careful of the narrow fit. And moving on to the support and lockdown. So the lateral containment feels like it's gonna be very good, right? So on the outside of the shoe, we can see this plastic, right? It's this very, very hard plastic, and it starts kind of like in the forefoot and extends into the midfoot, and the same thing here in the heel. I thought this was like foam, but it's actually plastic as well. And it's all the way here in the heel, and there seems to be an internal TPU heel counter as well. And like I mentioned before, the drop-in midsole has a sidewall as well. So lateral containment feels like it's gonna be very good. I mean, Zion Williamson, he needs that. Remember with the PG 2.5 back when he was in college, how he ripped out of the shoe, right? So yeah, obviously with the Zions, they're gonna need a very supportive shoe, and it feels like the Zion 3 has him covered. And also, this shoe is very wide, right? We can see a little bit of an outrigger here in the forefoot, but also I've never actually really seen this. There's an outrigger here in the midfoot as well. Look at that. That's pretty cool. That does protrude out here as well. So lateral stability feels like it's gonna be good too. And my foot feels locked into the shoe. You know, I don't. It doesn't feel like there's any heel slippage. And I do like the addition of the like ankle pads, and also, like I mentioned before, that texture from the drop-in midsole keeps my foot in place, right? All right, moving on to the weight of the shoe. I feel like this shoe is gonna be kind of heavy because there's just so much rubber, right? Especially coming up on the in the heel and also on the sides of the shoe. So I feel like it's gonna be like 13 ounces, maybe 12, 13 ounces. Oh, 12.35 ounces. Let's check the other shoe. 12.45 ounces. So that's basically around average, a little bit lighter than average weight for me. So the average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces. So yeah, it does feel a little bottom heavy, however, right? Just probably because of all of this rubber going on. The upper is actually super minimal feeling. So I don't really like the weight distribution that much, but it's not that big of a deal. But also I don't really like how clunky it feels here in the heel. But other than that, I feel like it'll be a very responsive shoe, right? The traction feels good. The cushion is super low to the ground, but also it feels very comfortable and bouncy, and the support seems good so far. So it'll probably be a very responsive shoe, but it does feel a little clunky, right? And moving on to the aesthetics, I definitely feel like this is the best looking shoe that Jordan brand has to offer right now, right? So it looks better than Tatum's. It looks better than Jordan 38 in my personal opinion. So yeah, and also one of the best looking shoes that Nike has to offer as well. You know, Sabrina 1's definitely up there. The LeBron 20 is definitely up there. But this is a great design, especially comparing to the Zion 1. The Zion 1 looks, yeah, and also this colorway is pretty bad, but the overall design of the shoe, not very good. Zion 2 looked a little bit better, especially with this kind of like old school aesthetic. But the Zion 3 definitely looks the best in my personal opinion. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, yes, I love how Zion Williamson added a drop-in midsole, especially with Formula 23 foam and a bottom-loaded zoom in the forefoot. And if that feels nice and the traction holds up, especially on a dusty court, and hopefully my foot doesn't hurt too much because of the super narrow width, but if those aren't a problem, then this will definitely be an amazing performer, right? So my first impressions on the Zion 3 are very, very good, and I'm super duper excited to try them out. So that about concludes my first impressions look on the Jordan Zion 3. Again, if you guys do want to call up, I try to leave the link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.